This recent explosion in the silver market has me kind of worried. You should probably be worried too, even if you're not invested, but there's a lot going on. So let's go for a walk and talk about it. So silver went from the 30s here to almost $80, especially this last week, right around Christmas. It's just really gone crazy. But why is it worrisome? Well, there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, and I'm not going to pretend to know all of it. But anytime you see the value of a commodity, in particular like this, just skyrocket, it tells you there's some cracks in the system, right? There's some reason why either the price was too low or is now too high. So silver has been interesting to me for a long time. I started buying it, I want to say it was 2008. I should probably look that up, but I want to say it was 2008. It was $12 an ounce. And so I've got a little bit of a collection. I haven't really bought a whole lot lately. I really, really liked it, under $20. Once it got above $20, I don't want to say I lost interest, but I didn't feel like it was, as great of a value to buy at that point. The stock market was doing really good and some other stuff. But I only sold it once. I sold it, gosh, I don't remember when. It was probably 2010 when it doubled. It had gone up to 24. I said, okay, let me sell some of my stock. So I did. But what's going on now is really fascinating to me, because there's been a lot of powerful forces holding the price down, the banks in particular. And the way that they can sell commodities, especially a commodity like precious metals, is different than the way they can sell another commodity, right? Like oil is going to be delivered, it's going to be consumed and used. Oranges or whatever, most other commodities are going to have sort of an expiration date. Storing them is quite expensive. They go bad, etc. Precious metals don't really do that, right? They don't go bad. They don't really take up a whole lot of room. At least, per square foot, per dollar, very, very low. So that's what makes it sort of interesting in the commodities market, because you can really manipulate what's on paper when it comes to precious metals, right? So ETFs, stocks, COMEX, there's supposed to actually be an ounce of silver that exists, that's stored somewhere, for every ounce of silver that's on paper. That's just not the case, right? So imagine 100 million ounces of silver have been bought and sold on paper. Those 100 million ounces are supposed to physically be somewhere, but they're not. And that's what's sort of worrisome about it. And that's what we see going on right now. A lot of people that have bought, silver contracts are now saying, well, I don't just want this piece of paper telling me I own the silver. I want the real thing. The piece of paper doesn't feel me any good anymore. And so we're seeing so much of that right now that it's really messing up the market. But to me, it's a bit scary. I mean, what else are they doing this to? We already know the currency is manipulated. We already know we've had crazy inflation. We already know they're printing dollars. All of these things are a big part of what's making the silver market and precious metals in general go higher, right? Because it takes more dollars to buy the same thing, just based on inflation alone and money printing. We've seen both of those. So that's kind of scary too, right? Does this tell us that the big powerful buyers of silver and gold are so convinced, so concerned that our dollars are becoming worth less, not worthless, but worth less, that they would rather store their wealth in a precious metal, in a vault somewhere? I don't know. It's kind of scary, right? But that's a big part of the reason, why I started investing in it a long time ago. But why now? Why so quickly? That's what has me worried. Is some of it because of the demand that AI is creating? Yeah, sure. So some of it, the solid state batteries? Yeah, sure. What percentage of it? I don't know. But that doesn't explain how quickly it moved, right? That's more of a long-term thing. Same thing with inflation. That's more of a long-term hedge. You know, it's certainly not a bad idea to have some of your money diversified in all sorts of things. And even within precious metals and even within silver, you can diversify, right? You can buy stocks in mining companies. You can buy physical silver. You're going to pay a premium. And then when you go to sell it, you're going to get a little bit less than melt. So you sort of lose on both ends in that direction. I'll discuss that in another video. You can buy ETFs. I mean, there's various different ways, even within a particular commodity. You know, in this example, we're talking about silver. You can diversify with it. And even physical silver. You can diversify in, you know, you can buy half-ounce rounds. You can buy 1 ounce rounds, coins, bars, 10 ounces, you know, 100 ounces. So you can diversify even with a physical purchase of it. Premiums are a little bit different. There's a few different ways you can, you know, try to get a little bit better deal, but you've got some options, right? So I talked to a few people lately about silver, and I told them I can't pinpoint exactly why it's skyrocketed lately. But whatever the reason is, whatever the forces are that are making it do it, it's worrisome. I can't think of a better way to say it. I don't want to say scared. I've avoided the word scared, but it's worrisome and concerning. And I'm not pretending to know the answer. I'm not pretending to know exactly what's going on. I've explained already, you know, some of the forces that are doing it. China's a big one. China's heavily involved in silver. India is heavily involved in silver. But whatever's going on, it's big. It's big, and it's scary that the price was suppressed for so long. It should have never been $12 like it was, you know, 15, 18 years ago. And then it shouldn't have run straight up to $40, you know, not long after that, and then went right back down and then back up. There's clearly a lot of manipulation going on. So the thing about owning the physical metal is exactly that, right? You own it. You have it in your possession versus a stock or a bond or even, you know, even an ETF or those other alternatives. You have a piece of paper, if even, right? You have a digital account. And part of the reason I got into silver too was always sort of the what if the stuff hits the fan factor, right? God forbid. I pray that never happens. But if it does, you know, it's not going to do you a lot of good to log into your Ameritrade account or your Fidelity account or whatever and say, oh, okay, I have X amount of shares of this or that, or I have X amount of ounces of silver or gold in my portfolio. You know, I don't actually physically have them, but, you know, the internet tells me I do. If the stuff really hits the fan, that's not going to do you much good. I don't know how much good, you know, having a bunch of silver or a bunch of cash or a bunch of gasoline or fresh water or whatever. I don't know. I don't know how much it's going to help you either. But I know all those things will help you more than some numbers on a screen would help. And if the dollar continues to devalue the way it does, or if we have just absolute runaway massive inflation, you know, like they've seen around the world many, many times over, Germany, you know, after World War I, you know, how many dollar bills is it going to take at that point to buy a piece of silver? We don't know. We're starting to see some of that. We're seeing that play out now. It does take more dollar bills to buy the same thing, just because the dollar bills themselves are worth less. Right? That's part of the deal. But that, again, that does not explain what's happened over the last few weeks. I mean, just the other day, silver was up like 9%. 9% in one day. It's not a crypto. It's starting to feel like it. It's not, what are those things called? NTFs or NFTs or whatever? Non-fungible, something, whatever. I never paid any attention to those other than to realize how ridiculous people are. But it's not one of those. It shouldn't be going up almost 10% a day, but it did. And, you know, there's certainly a part of me that's happy and excited. I feel vindicated So I've been talking about it for a few years, a few decades. And, now people are coming and talking to me and saying, man, so tell me about this silver thing. I'm like, dude, I've been telling you for 20 years. What do you mean tell you about the silver thing? And I do, I've got some silver, at home. And so that's nice. But to me, honestly, it doesn't make me feel better than I would feel if the price hadn't skyrocketed like this. I would like to have seen it just, sort of go up naturally over the last, 15 or 20 years or whatever. That would have made me feel a lot better than this just sudden rocket ship taking off. So I don't know exactly where we're heading. I don't know. I'm not giving advice. I'm not telling anybody what to do. I'm not selling anything. I don't have any interest in whether you buy silver or not. That's up to you. But I think it's definitely worth keeping an eye on, even if you're not invested in it, because there's something going on, and that something is a lot bigger than silver itself and gold. People ask me, what do I think comes next, or where's silver going? What I'm looking for is the silver to gold ratio to close even further. I want to say it's at 60 to 1. It's been way higher than that not that long ago. I would look for that to get to 50 to 1, maybe 40 to 1. What that number means, I don't know. Does that mean we're at $100 silver and $5,000 gold? Maybe. $120 silver, $6,000 gold? Maybe. But I would look for that ratio to close. And until it does close even further, I would say that silver is certainly a better buy than gold. And again, silver is useful in the industrial applications that gold isn't. They're not putting a bunch of gold in anything. It's just too expensive. Now maybe one day that'll change. If that gap becomes 10 to 1, 5 to 1, what if one day silver and gold are worth the same? To me, it's not unreasonable. We'll just have to see. But that's what I'm looking for. Until that gap closes, I would certainly say that silver's a better buy than gold. Does that mean you should buy it? I don't know. It's up to you. Do your research. Don't trust me. But I think it's still an exciting thing, because it's really cool to just physically have it, to physically own it. It's much more fun than opening up an envelope, quarterly, and looking at your statement or logging into online and saying, oh, cool. My balance is whatever it is, It's kind of cool to open up the safe every once in a while and just kind of check out your stash and show the kids. My kids love it. They've each got a little bit of silver as well, which is a heck of a lot more fun than telling them, oh, hey, by the way, I bought you a share of, Coca-Cola. Congratulations. And they're like, I don't know what that means, Dad. Well, but you hand them a coin and you say, when I bought you this coin, you were just a baby and it was worth $20 and now it's worth almost 80. That makes sense to them, and that's exciting to me. So make sure to stay tuned. I plan on making some more videos, not just about silver. Silver is one of my just favorite things to discuss economically. I've been interested in it for a long time. I know a little more than your average person does about it. I'm certainly not a market guru or anything like that. But it's fun to talk about. So I plan on making some more content about, silver, about the economy and stuff. We'll see where it goes from here. And again, I'm excited, but I'm also a bit nervous about what silver's done. We'll see what the next couple of weeks hold. If we end up with silver at $100, in the next month or two, I don't know what I'll think about that. I really don't. I'm not scared, but it's a bit worrisome. All right, make sure you stay tuned, check back often, subscribe, comment, tell me what you think.